This week on Rockstar Superhero. There are moments that change your life. It might be something wildly important like a new relationship or a baby being born, but it can also be a truth behind a genuine smile and conversation. This happened to me today, and I am absolutely floored by the experience. Loz Regan of the UK alternative metalcore act Seek Harbour is the singer and one of the musical expressives in the band, and he is fantastic. You can tell Loz loves life, the opportunities in front of him, and his fans. He's a grateful soul and is profoundly moved by the love he receives. He's genuine and courteous, and I'm so blown away I just can't stand it. I mean, what a gem. So, listen to the show, dig into the perspectives, and take something away that you can hold close to your own heart. This is the force of beauty and hope. This is Loz Regan of Seek Harbour on Rockstar Superhero. And we're rolling live, my friend. How are you, Loz?
I'm good, my friend. Yeah, I'm really good and well, thank you.
Yeah, man, I am so stoked. We have had a heck of a time trying to get this together. So I appreciate you bearing with me and taking the long road to get to this interview today.
It has been yeah, sort of a long way to organise, but I'm glad to be here and have a chat with you.
Yeah, brother. I want to start if I could. I love Seek Harbour. I think it's a fantastic unit, and we'll certainly talk about that. But one of my favorite things to do when I interview an artist like yourself is to really talk about you, the individual.
Yeah.
So if that's cool, the first thing I'd like to talk about is something about etymology. It's about the name, right? Your name, what it means, and your given name is Lawrence, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Lawrence,
okay.
My real name.
Okay. So I'll have you tell me where Loz came from. It's probably a nickname that maybe I'm not familiar with in the States, but I wanted to talk about the correlation of your name and the role you play in Seek Harbour. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Well, like I said, I'm a big fan of etymology, and I like to, look things up and kind of figure out what a name means, because the thing I've found is names, they're downloaded into us, right? We think we come up with these names, and I'm not going to get all super spiritual on you here, but I'm telling you, they are, man. Like, our names mean something. They absolutely do in the grand scheme, right? Not just to our parents. And, your given name is Lawrence and my given name is Robert, which both mean the same thing. I don't know if you know this.
No, I did. You're about to educate me all on this.
I am. It's bright and shining.
Right.
And that is completely extraordinary, which, of course, means that you and I are very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, goes without saying.
Yeah, but this is where it gets really cool. Your nickname, your stage name, Loz, means to make order or peace.
Oh, really?
Isn't that amazing?
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I've never even thought about that, actually.
Yeah, because. Right, that's your role. I mean, at least, I don't know, maybe to me as an outsider, but to me, your role in the band is one of being the center, keeping things on an even keel. You know what I mean? Connecting the music with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is sort of like the key thing for a frontman, is to sort of, engage the music behind us to the audience and vice versa, and to bounce that back onto the stage performance.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, I find this amazing because, like you said, you're the vocal intermediary in the band, and it's just a really cool dichotomy when something like that plays out, because it shows that our choices are almost unplanned, and yet they're sort of planned, right, in space, whether it's God or the universe, right? But our lives are intended to be where and who we are, even if we think we picked them.
Well, the craziest thing when you say all that is that obviously years ago, sort of, I asked my mum where she got the name Lawrence from, and my mum never found out if they were having a boy or girl, so they never planned names. They literally just plucked the name Lawrence. I don't know exactly why they went for Lawrence, but they plucked Lawrence.
Huh.
And in terms of Loz, as far as I'm aware, I was called Loz from sort of a baby because my mum nicknamed me Loz. So my mum actually gave me both names, one a nickname that she chose and one my actual birth name, which she sort of like picked without planning.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Lawrence sounds like an old fashioned, British name.
Yeah. It's really funny because you can always tell people I meet, whether it be out in town or sort of, or work related or anything, you can always tell if it's a business meeting or if it's a social meeting, because if it's someone of a profession level, I'll be like, hi, my name is Lawrence. If it's a friend, it will be like, hi, I'm Loz. You can always tell how well I know the person.
Yeah. No, I love that. Did your mom ever tell you what Loz meant to her or where it came from?
No, I think it was just sort of a shortened name for Lawrence, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've never heard it. Have you ever met another Loz in your life?
As I got older, I've met a few. Yeah. Well, there was a girl when I went to school. There was a girl in the year, and as she got older, friends started calling her Loz. And then I sort of, there's a couple in the town I live in. I'm obviously the ultimate, the OG Loz.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In my world, you're the only Loz. So I mean, if I could just put you on a pedestal, you know what I mean? That would be great. Look, man, the band, it's fantastic. I don't know what it is in James's catalog, right? He seems to find the greatest acts. And I feel very fortunate that I'm in his world, of course, which then I stumbled into your world. Yeah. I'm always hesitant. I say this every time I ask this question, but to ask about the influence question, because it's such a boring, tried and true question. But, most audiences, at least in the States, we don't know much about you. And it seems to me that you are, or maybe the band is heavily skewed towards the post-hardcore sound, maybe bring me the horizon. But then there's the modern pop punk stuff in there, like Green Day, the melodies I hear, know. So why do you think these bands hit you the way they do? What is it about their message or their sound that inspires you?
I think it was for me personally. I grew up. As a child, I was always sort of like skater. So the sort of skate punk, the Blink-182s, the Offspring, the Green Day, that was like sort of my go-to music. And as I grew older, I developed more into like the sort of metal, so like the 36 Crazy Fists, and that led on to things like Bring Me the Horizon and Killswitch and all that went on. So for me, it's just something that's just naturally developed. I got more into that heavier stuff. And in terms of being an alternative vocalist, a screamer in a band, that was just something I discovered at a later stage of my life. I played in an old band and I said I wanted to be a vocalist, and we went along to the studio to just rehearse for the first time. And it was literally a case of just putting the mic in front of me and I went, can I do this? Yeah, but it seems I can. Yeah. So that's my story. In terms of the band, we're all so different in terms of influence, but we've all got that sort of, there's a general level where we all sort of realised that Simon, for example, is really into his heavy metal, and Edwin is more into his softer stuff, his more ambient stuff. Okay. And I think we just sort of mutually sort of met in the middle, and those sort of bands were bands that we loved anyway, but it just felt right that that's where we all sat and were comfortable writing. And that's how it happened, really. Yeah.
Your band is one, actually, I would say, at least my understanding, again, I want to make it very clear that I did my research, and at the same time, I'm probably going to ask a stupid question because I didn't maybe know the whole thing. But your band is the only band I've ever seen that is sort of built the way it's built, right? You have these, you have the two instrumentalists and two vocals, and I've never seen that, and I'm wondering how that happened, and two, how your particular role evolved, maybe from being the guy who split the parts to being the sort of more the extreme end of the business.
In terms of how the band functioned, we all live in the same town, and we all played in previous bands, but separate bands.
Right.
And we played in different genres and stuff like that. And where we live is a very small town. And we sort of like all knew that we wanted to at some point write music together, but had been off doing different projects.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that we'd almost kind of hit that point in life where we had not given up on it, but we wanted to do something that was more enjoyable rather than sort of chasing the dream. Like, let's write an album. We're going to become rock stars, this, that, the other.
Yeah.
And we were all free at that time. And so we just sort of like came together. CJ started the ball rolling by sort of presenting us with a program track that he wrote. And we just all jumped on board and went, yeah, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
And, we've got Simon on drums, CJ does the guitars and the programming, myself and Edwin on guitars. Bass and secondary guitars are something that we haven't officially got. We have musicians that come in and play for us. In the studio, CJ does most of it. But at the moment, we're in a position where, as a 4-piece, we're doing what we are happy with doing. And we need to wait to find that right person to come in and fill that gap. So at the moment, we're just comfortable doing it the way we're doing it. It just works for us.
Yeah. I'm glad you're doing it that way. And not settling for the person to come in and fill the gap that maybe doesn't have the same fit or the same feel. Or in your case, you talk about the town. You're from Kent, right?
That's right. Yeah, the county we live in is called Kent, and we live in a small town called Dill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but all that being said, it seems to me in the UK, there's this huge, every town or every region has huge cultural singularity, right? Like, in other words, if you were from, say, Manchester, right, you're going to be a radically different type of person, how you were raised, sort of your expectations of what the neighborhoods are like, how what you're into, so to speak, so I imagine you've got to find a guy from Kent, so to speak, right?
Essentially. I mean, where we live, it's a really quiet seaside town. There's no music scene really. I mean, we grew up playing in bands, but it was always traveling to London, which was like the mecca for us to play music. If we could get a show in London and we got a chance to play up there, then it was the greatest thing. We were like, yeah, we're doing something really cool. So for us, there's been very little near to us. It wouldn't necessarily be finding someone that was from Kent. It would just be more finding someone that was on our social level. We're all kind of wacky guys, and we have these crazy moments, and we like to have fun. So it'd be more finding someone that could tolerate us than anything else.
Yeah, somehow I have a feeling tolerating you would be fairly easy. The thing though that I found about musicians, I mean, because I'm one myself, is we're all a tad daft, right? We're all a bit crazy and wild, and I think it's so important to surround yourself with people that understand that when you bring your crazy, that they're okay with it, because they know it's temporary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've as the 4 guys in the band, we've got very comfortable now around each other. Sort of, we had a band practice last night, and Edwin's one of these people that he'll just do vocal impressions. So he'll do like these weird voices for no reason, just he'll do an impression. And we sort of like, we've just got really comfortable with each other's personalities now, and about so-and-so's having a funny 5 minutes, just let him go and do it, and we'll come back to it in a minute. So yeah, it's cool.
Nice. It's funny too, because I was talking with my daughter about this yesterday. I was doing an impression of South Park, one of the Mr. Hanky, actually, if you're familiar with that character. Yeah. And she said, "How do you do that?" And I said, well, I think, honey, I think it's, having a musical ear. It's being able to hear the timbre, right? Those pitches, those variations on the voice. And it doesn't mean I'm a good impersonator, but, I think you have to have that musical ear. So it's funny that musicians tend to get a little crazy when they're trying to, I don't know, to entertain the brothers,
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we definitely do. We've got sort of like little characters and stuff that we pull out at band practices from time to time, and it's either taking the mick out of each other or just these weird characters we bring into a room for about a minute or two.
Okay, so then I have to lay you out flat on this one, man. You gotta share one, brother. You gotta share. I mean, do you have the courage to share one here?
I don't do the characters or the impressions. It's actually Edwin that does them.
Just Edwin?
Just Edwin, and we just roll around in stitches.
Okay.
But so things like CJ gave us all nicknames, and my nickname in the band is Bob Skrillex. Which you're gonna
make me cough again.
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
My nickname is Bob Skrillex, which is
nice.
Obviously a cross between Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons,
right,
and Skrillex.
Yeah.
Because I used to have, obviously you can see my hair's curly, but I used to have really long curly hair.
Gotcha.
And with all the tattoos and the piercings, it was a cross between Sideshow Bob and Skrillex. So that's my nickname, yeah.
Okay, so it's not like you were doing a character and every once in a while going, I mean, you weren't actually doing beatboxing. You were just
no.
It was just your crazy
just
one side of the head look.
Yeah, I mean, Edwin does a really good impression of Frodo and some of the other characters for Lord of the Rings as well. Yeah.
That's good.
But next time we're on an interview or we get to chat, I'll try and make sure he's here, or I'll get him to do a video and we can send it to you and you can include it.
I would love that, man. I promise if you want to tell him tonight, hey, put something together, I'll actually edit it into the final video.
All right, I'll get him to do something and we'll add it in at some point.
And we'll do it like right here, boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's get back to the task at hand.
Yeah.
The music business these days is, as you know, completely overloaded with genre descriptions. Everybody's got to say that's what my band is, or everybody's asking you how do you label yourself,
Yeah.
And with you guys, I've seen melodic hardcore and metalcore, and and it covers the whole gamut, and I'm curious, why do you think this is? Do you think it's because traditional post-hardcore requires a melodic chorus and a breakdown, or why do you think people need to have that to identify with?
Yeah, that's a great question, because although I believe in genres and stuff, it's so hard to sort of, like you rightly said, we get the metalcore, we get the post-hardcore. Yeah. I think with a band like ours, it's hard to really put it into them subgenres, because we could play a show where we're playing with more melodic, sort of the poppier stuff, and then we can be playing where we're the heavier band on the bill. Then we could be playing with the heavier bands where we're the softer band on the bill. Yeah. So it is quite hard to fit into that category, but at the same time, I quite like it, because if we have that label of you're a hardcore band, we only get booked for those shows, right. As if we get on the other end of the spectrum, we only get booked for them shows. So to have that sort of mix up of genre allows people to sort of not really know where to put us and free us up to go and play a lot of different things, really.
Yeah. I imagine, though, that means what it really forces you to do, Loz, is it forces you to write great songs, because then, right, you stand out no matter what. It doesn't matter. You can just say, because I mean, if I'm going to label you, I might drop you into the metalcore, subgenre, but I mean, to me, you're an alternative band, right?
Yeah.
You're not a straight ahead blues rock band. You're not a really a metal band. You're very, very melodic. You just have some screams in there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's really funny, because if you take out, for example, my part and had Seek Harbour without me, it wouldn't be in them genres. It would just be a melodic rock band. Yeah. You put me in and you take out Edwin, the clean vocalist, and we're now a metalcore band. That's
Right.
you know, it's how them little bits can completely, you take one away and then you are in that bracket, but you add them together and it's sort of like, oh, where do we go? What we do? Like, people don't know what to really label it, and it's quite funny. It's quite funny explaining it to people, because they're sort of like, well, what is it? Why, are you metalcore? Are you hardcore? Are you this? It's like, well, we're dabbling a bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think, though, that, the voice of this world, right? We live in a world where there's way too much content. There's actually too much content, and things get lost in the middle. If you don't have something to attach a label to, nobody knows where to place you. Therefore, they don't place you at all.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, people like to have that. They like to put things in boxes because then they understand it, and they feel that if they've got that understanding, they can relate to it. But I mean, we just CJ writes most of the stuff, and we've got some new stuff coming out which dabbles into sort of like little new territories that we sort of haven't explored as much as in the original stuff. So it's exciting.
So when you say new stuff, would that be the single that I heard today or parts of Wolves, or would this be stuff that you're writing?
So we've actually got a couple of tracks that are coming out. We recently released a track called Dagger Like Eyes.
I love it.
Which was the first of 4 tracks that we're releasing one by one. So we've just released the trailer for Wolves, which is track number 2. And yeah, you heard it a little bit, for those out there that have heard it, or for those that haven't, but we sort of dabbled into a lot more melody, and there's some sort of like some more synthy parts that we've thrown into that song just to give it a different edge.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of metalcore, synthwave. I mean, really, the truth is, a great song, Loz, is a great song.
Yeah.
That's it, and it kind of makes sense that the music business has evolved into singles versus albums anymore, because they can get behind and push that and sort of wring all the juice out of it right before they jump to the next single. And it also allows labels and management to not drop a ton of coin on a band to put together an entire album only to discover that it's going to fail. Yeah,
absolutely. And for us, it's it's been a real roller coaster ride. I mean, sort of, we released our debut single in 2019.
Yeah.
And like I said before, we sort of went into this venture with sort of like, let's just write some music, put it on the internet, see what the world makes of it, and just take it as it comes. And, fortunately, we hooked up with James and Saviour Management. We signed up with them, and it was all sort of, this one thing that we weren't bothered about anymore is now happening.
Yeah.
So we very quickly went from writing songs for our own benefit and sort of weren't too phased about what was going to happen with them, to now we're sort of writing songs going, how are they going to sound live? How are they going to, how are we going to play these? How are we going to convert these to a stage performance?
Yeah.
But still be true to ourselves and write what we originally set out to write. So we've done we've still got a lot of learning and developing to do, but we've done a lot of developing and learning in such a short period of time with the help of James and Saviour Management. So it's been great.
Yeah. Excuse me. And I need the audience to understand I'm coming down from COVID. So I'm still coughing quite a bit. Excuse me. That seems to have created both a hiccup and an extraordinary chance to grow, because you mentioned 2019 as the starting point of all of this, and then James comes into your world, but COVID, right? This has been on the top of everybody's tongue for the last 2 years. COVID comes in and sort of interferes with the momentum, but that interference forces you to go back to the drawing board, write more material, hone your sound, right? Bring it into liquid form, distill it. And then James can get behind it and really put the the knobs on the balls, because you actually have a really truly powerful product now. And again, not to say you didn't in 2019, but you definitely are refined now.
Yeah, Yeah, 100%. You know, we've had we've really, with the new tracks, we've really sort of, to say matured is the wrong thing, but we've sort of like, we've had time to play around with sounds and tracks, and, you know, go through versions of the same track and sort of work out what aren't we happy with and how can we change it, or how can we make that work. And we've had that time that a lot of bands haven't had, that have, you know, have had to do that while they're on the road or bouncing from show to show. So we're very fortunate in that. But yeah, it's quite weird, because obviously we released a song in 2019. We never actually went into a room and played together until the sort of, I can't remember, it was towards the end of 2020. No, mid 2021, I think it was. So it was a good 6-7 months of being a band, and we'd never even been in a room together because we were all on lockdown.
That is insane.
Yeah. It's just mad. So we were writing and sending each other files, and what do you think of this? Yeah, we like this, and so on and so on.
Yeah. How much did that affect your personal writing process? I imagine, because you're very, I'm going to get to this on Daggers Like Eyes. I do want to talk about that piece, because I think it's an important song.
Yeah.
And I'm not blowing smoke up her tailpipe. I think I think that's an important song. It says something potent. But how did the communication and the development process feed into your personal soul, and how did it affect how you wrote and where your emotion came from, and, you know, as you developed these pieces?
Yeah, I mean, as a vocalist, it was you know, it was nice that I could sort of, it was hard to think of things that you wanted to write about because there wasn't so much going on. You weren't going out, you weren't having these, you know, encounters or days out where you were gaining sort of things to write about. But it sort of gave you a chance to really be honest with yourself and sort of like look within and say, you know, this is what's bugging me, or this is, you know, what I want to get off my chest. And it really also gave us a chance to all sit down and say, well, what do we want to write about? You know, we've always said that if someone's got something going on, that we sort of have a trust circle where we can bring it to the table and say, look, this is an issue. Let's write about it, or let's incorporate it some way. But we learned that we wanted to write songs that people can relate to. So we don't write about a person, or, you know, we don't write about that day out. We just try and sort of have it where people can listen to the lyrics and say, I can tweak this to my experience.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. And that's, I guess, what I wanted to touch on with Daggers Like Eyes, if I may. So I know I said this a second ago, but I think it's an important song. It's lovely, but vital. I can feel its emotion, you know, dead straight. But I sense pain in it, even if I don't understand, you know, what it was written, you know, why it was written or what it was written about. You know, if it's symbolic, you know. Do you mind filling me in on the story behind this song? Because I really think it's representative of, you know, Seek Harbour's sound.
Yeah. So Dagger Like Eyes is basically based around. It's based about vices, and it's about that sort of final hurdle of a vice, where whether it be you know, a social situation or a relationship, or, you know, a scenario where you know something's not what you want anymore, or it's not a good scenario for you, and you pluck up the courage and you decide that you need to separate yourself away from that. And you just got that final hurdle to do of actually moving away from it. And sort of, and we wanted to use the eyes, the sort of the imagery that we wanted to have of the, you know, the puppy dog eyes, so to speak, where you can have that look and you're moving away, you're doing the thing that you want to do and that you know is right for you. But yet there's that one thing, that vice that will always draw you back, and you've got to fight that final hurdle. And the music video is how we represented that with the two storylines of a social circle and a relationship, and just fighting that. But yeah, it's basically just breaking that final hurdle to get past that vice.
Wow. So I want to share something with you then, if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So this actually affects me today.
Right.
When I got up this morning, and I don't need to talk about all my vices
Yeah.
because I have many, and I don't want to embarrass my wife, my children, my friends, anyone else. I'll talk about it all day, right? I really don't
Yeah.
care if I'm sitting here naked. I'm good, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I get it. The world doesn't need that. But this morning, I had, as in prep here, I set all my stuff up like I always do, and I had extra time, and my brain starts going through the things. Which of your vices would you like to fall into? Right, you
Yeah.
have some time. Do you want to do anything? You know what I'm saying. And again, I don't want to embarrass anybody I love, but it is so important to recognize that vice, and maybe this is a chance for me to be spiritual for the moment, but it is that monkey, it is that demon whispering in your ear, telling you, it's just one time.
Yeah.
And we don't need it. It actually takes our power away. And I think that message, Loz, is so crucial. I hope when people hear this show, they go out and immediately search out the song, because they need to understand, one, that they're not alone, two, this happens to everybody, and three, we can overcome it. But we need to get behind each other and serve each other to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. And as a band, we've all got vices. We've all had struggles and stuff, and whether it be the biggest struggle or just a sort of motivation for the day, and we've sort of like helped each other, and we push each other every day to get through them, and we'll continue to do that forever. But yeah, it is really important to realize that people out there that are having vices and struggles, that there's other people out there probably with the same struggle, and if we all just do sort of like put a hand up, or just talk about it for a little bit, you'll realize there's people out there and you can help each other. And I always say, message us on our social media page. We always, we spoke to people before in the past who have interacted with us with previous songs, and they become good friends of ours. So it's cool.
Well, I hope that happens for us. I'm greatly enjoying this, and I have every vice in the world. So for anybody listening, it's the same. Hit me up in my socials, and we can talk.
Definitely.
So this morning, before we jumped on, you fired me. Again, that link to the snippet of Wolves. And I really love the vibe. What I heard, obviously, it's not the entire piece. But can you tell me a little about that song? What is it trying to say? What is it trying to tell us about mankind?
So the Wolves track is essentially, it's realizing that you haven't got anything to give to a social circle, or as a situation, and you've got people hounding you, and you just acknowledge that there's nothing you can give back to this now. And we wanted to use the wolf as in the negative version of a wolf that are pounding on the door and sort of chasing you for stuff, and you're just kind of saying, look, there's nothing here, I haven't got anything to give you, just sort of like leave me alone, back off, and sort of, that's that really.
Oh man, what, Loz, I don't want this interview to end. I'm greatly enjoying this. I love meeting you. There's something so extraordinary and inspiring about you. And I think, you know what it is? You're telling the truth.
Yeah.
You just are. You have there's no pretension here. You're not trying to tell me what an interviewer wants to hear, giving me a sexy story or some situation or oh, woe is me. Right.
Yeah.
Well, because the realities, we're all woe, right? We're all down at times. So
that's it. Everyone has their down days and everyone has their up days. And I also find that with interviews, that if you pre-program an answer, it's just because it's boring. No one likes to hear it, and no one wants to do it. And And I'll be honest with you, I'm the worst at remembering stuff like that.
No.
I panic about remembering lyrics, let alone everything else. So that's why I always try and keep interviews as natural and just as honest. Like,
Nice.
we're an honest band, we're an open band. We have nothing to hide, so we're not going to try and pretend to be anything other than just four lads who love writing what we write.
Yeah. No, man, I love it. I love it. So then if you were to say you had a personal message, above the band, okay? I mean, this is your personal message.
Yeah.
My read, if I may, is that you're saying, everyone, above all things, keep yourself safe, seek happiness, seek the possibility of joy. Am I on the right path?
Absolutely, yeah. Go out, live life, do what makes you happy. As long as you're not harming anyone or causing any distress to any people or people around you, experience life. Go out and find out what makes you happy. There's lots to be happening out there, and don't sit on one path that you've been told to follow or you believe you should follow and be unhappy doing it. But be safe and be true to yourself.
Yeah. And that truth is so vital on all fronts, right? It's not just, a cultural thing or religious thing or a behavioral thing. It's refining yourself to the point that you just say, this is who I am. This is me 100% unfiltered, imperfect, and clear. I have clarity because I think so many bands, especially, they're dealing with trying to figure out their place, their voice, but they're finding that they are molding themselves into the look or the sound of others, and they're not willing to have the courage to be 100% true to who they are because they're afraid that nobody will like what they see.
Exactly, yeah. 100%. Sort of, you see a lot of bands that they build up this imagery and they write to that. It's almost like they've created characters and they have to write this storyline now for these characters, and that shows. Yeah. And then there's bands out there that you can see have gone through, every day we're learning, every day we're experiencing, meeting new people, and you never know what you're going to learn tomorrow. So you can never say that you're going to stay to this. And I think as long as you're doing it because you want to do it and you're honest about why you're doing it, then, that's the way it is. It's the way it is. And people will follow you. Some people will decide it's not for them, but yeah, I mean, that's my personal opinion. It's, it's not, it may not be the right one, but I believe.
Like I'm not speaking for the band or anyone here, but no, I agree though. It's lovely. You have to stand. You have to have some principles. They may not necessarily be mine or a listeners or whomever, but it doesn't matter. They're yours, and they're equally valid and equally important. And you are just as worthy of love.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna bring up something that you started doing a while back, and I hope it's okay. I know it has nothing to do with music, but it does talk and does speak to you. You seem to be a man of hope, and you organized a breast cancer charity a number of years back. Yeah, and I believe I should say I read that you did.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering where that particular passion came from. I mean, we all know people that have been sick with cancer. We all know people that have died from cancer. My father passed away from cancer. So we're all directly affected by loved ones and friends. But it's amazing, and it shows to me your purity towards others. How did that come about? And if you don't mind talking about it a little bit, I would love to.
Not for any particular personal reason.
Okay.
It was just sort of, people around us. I've had friends that have dealt with, cancer and other sad, illnesses and sort of struggles. We recently, Harbour recently played a show in our hometown, which was for, it was a cancer awareness show. And there was a band many years ago that sort of like were on the local scene, and their bass player, his name was Dan, who sadly passed away for cancer. But he was still with us at the time, and they wanted to sort of put something on where we could raise money and awareness for cancer. And so Edwin, our singer, was sort of best friends with this Dan. So we put on shows. We put on a show, and his old band headlined, and we went along and supported them. As it was sort of like it was a chance for him to get back on his bass guitar. It was a chance for them to do something they enjoyed and give him that sort of like just that time he remembered of just being free and being happy and playing music and enjoying life. It also then gave us a chance to get that message out to people and raise some money and awareness and just sort of, you know, expose the truth of you know, everyone's got struggles but can still be out there doing the most they can and enjoying all the moments they can. So yeah, it was a fun day where we all got to just forget about that struggle and that pain and suffering and just play music. But, you know, there was a meaning behind it, and we all sort of made each other aware of it and kept it true.
Okay, so you said something that touched a good nerve for me, which you said meaning. What do you see your life meaning? You know, why are we here?
What a question.
Existential crisis, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think if I could answer that question, I'd probably be a very wealthy and sought after man.
Why are you here?
Why am I here?
Yeah.
I'm here to learn, and I'm here to learn every day and sort of use what I learn every day to make myself a better person and use that to make my loved ones and the people around me happy and safe. And you know, every day I learn something, and I take that and I sort of expose myself to weaknesses and enjoy new ventures. And that's it really, I think. And just enjoy playing music and skateboarding and
awesome.
And pretending I know what I know about football.
Not American football either. Not that crap. Real football.
Yeah, soccer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually have one final question before I praise you at the end. You know, this recently I held a forum on mental health. You know, a crisis in the entertainment business, and I wonder how much you see people fall apart in your world. You know, I mean, there's obviously we're all friends with musicians. We have a ton of, you know, artist friends, but it isn't, of course, just an entertainment business thing. It just tends to be, we do it louder because we're doing it on television or on the radio or in our songs. But I'm curious, this is not accusatory in the sense of me suggesting you have mental illness. But we all do have struggles at times. And
100%.
You know, I think your POV is crucial, Loz, because it adds another perspective. So I'm wondering, what do you do when you're down or when you're struggling? You know, how do you get through?
Again, if you asked me this several years ago, it would have been the answer that the doctors would have said, that's the worst thing you could possibly do. You go out and do things that I absolutely shouldn't do. Right. Nowadays, I've gone through a lot of development. I've gone through a lot of hard times and a lot of struggles. And, you know, I'm now at a place where I've gone through the bad way of dealing with it. I've gone through vices. I've gone through bad tempers and falling out with people and things like this. And I've fortunately enough, band members in Harbour were there at those times. So they've seen that and they helped me come through the other side for that. But nowadays I like to just sit back and just think, well, why is it, you know, not necessarily understand it, but just acknowledge it. And I think if I can acknowledge something and be aware that it's happening, it's almost like you don't need to know why, if that makes sense. Sure. You're never going to know why something's happening. You may never know what caused it. But if I think if I can sit there and I can go, okay, I'm having a bad day. Done. Let it be a bad day. Let it be a bad day. It's a bad day. Let's get through it. Wake up tomorrow, and tomorrow might be a good day. Yeah. And then I think acknowledgement is I wouldn't say more, but just as important as understanding or coping with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's potent stuff. It really goes in line too with all the things that, I've heard over the last, specifically over the last couple of weeks, as we've talked about this a lot more with artists in our world. But the idea of acknowledgement, the idea of gratefulness, the idea that this too shall pass is crucial. Of course, the problem with truly deep-seated or seated mental illness, for people who are a little more intense in their struggles, right? Being bipolar or having run, say, a 10-year gamut of depression. Yeah. It feels like that mud will never go away. There's no way to shake it off. There's no way to get out. And there's no way to see that that 5% better today is enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess there is no real answer in that outside of, seek guidance, seek counsel, seek trust, seek love. Yeah. Don't seek every voice. Don't go on the internet and look for a voice, because it's going to tell you a whole bunch of crap that you don't need. Listen to Loz.
Don't do that. It's tough, and everyone's got different ways they deal with stuff and different ways they cope with stuff. It doesn't mean that everyone's way is right. It doesn't mean everyone's way is wrong. It's finding the way that works for you and the way that allows you to be open and honest. It took me such a long time, because for me, I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't have to, I can just push it down and put on the smile and crack on. And then one day, whether it was just a bridge too far and it just broke or whatever, I listened to someone, they gave me some advice, and then that advice ended up being that I didn't need all that advice, or not all of that advice worked for me, but that one snippet of advice then opened me up to looking for other things, and so then someone else, it was the way someone taught me how to just take 2 seconds out and what to do about it. And so I did. And then I realized that scenario worked for me, and someone else went, if you've done that, try doing this. And it spiraled and here we are today. So,
and the best part, man, here we are. I mean, new friendship, new conversations, sharing where you've been to encourage even one person, right? To share that for one person. It could be your life's purpose.
Well, that's it. If I can inspire one person, and then that person inspires 2 people and goes on, in a year, how many people are inspired with just one thing that someone told me 5 years ago, and that's what's happening. If we're all talking about what we've learned or what we've been through, every day someone else is learning, and and we get to that point where we're just getting it out there and just get to as many people as possible.
Yeah, man, Loz, I'm so blown away by you today. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy that we had a chance to finally put this together, and I'm grateful for you. I want to say that out loud. I want the world to hear how important Loz is to you that are listening, how special he is to me now as a new friend and as somebody who really offered some beautiful things to my listeners. Is there if I could end with this, is there a piece of wisdom you learned from, your father or a schoolmate or a teacher or a pastor or anything that you've taken and that's been your sort of your motto of life?
There's lots of things. There really is lots of things. I got into a place where I would always try and fight against people to be at the top, and rather than just sitting there and doing me, I got tied into the war of trying to trying to scramble to be at the top and not just be who I am. And someone said to me, and I may say this slightly wrong, the cream will always rise to the top.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll never forget that. It's just the most simple thing ever. But I heard it one day and it just made me realize, well, hold on, just be you. And if you're just you and you do everything right, outsiders will see who's the true person and who's just doing it because they're good at it or they're right for it or whatever it may be. And it will just naturally unfold. Yeah. If you're constantly trying to, you know, like a cat trying to get out of a basket, people will see that you're doing it because you want to just get that glory or that thing. If you're doing it because you love doing it, you'll get there. You'll whiz. So
wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, my brother.
No, thank you.
Yeah, this has been utterly incredible. Seek Harbour's music, extraordinary. Material, Daggers Like Eyes, obviously the new piece, Wolves. I can't wait to hear the full thing. Thank you for being in my world, and I hope to connect with you soon, brother.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob, for having me. It's been an absolute joy. It's like you said, it's a pleasure to finally get this into place and have this chat. And I look forward to people talking to me, whether they come up at a show or they message us and learn things from our fans as well as they learn things from us.